Perfect.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take questions from the media, and we will take as many questions as we can within our allotted time. And to kick us off, we're going to take a question from Casey Campbell. Go ahead, Casey.
Thanks, Amanda, and I hope you're doing well. Anthony, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well, thanks, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. So for you, it's been a crazy year for you, going from part-time Xfinity to a full-time Cup ride with Front Row. How did this opportunity really get put together?
It's a great question, and it was definitely a pretty incredible story for me personally, just because of the fact that there was a lot of uncertainty at the end of the season, and it's sort of been like that the last couple of years of my career, running part-time with limited funding and just trying to take advantage of whatever opportunities were out there that were the best ones for me is what we've continued to do. And obviously when the seat opened up here at Front Row Motorsports and we got in contact with, they had reached out and were looking for someone young. And I'm looking for somewhere where I could build a future and grow as a driver and, kind of really get hopefully a long, successful career started at the Cup Series level. So it was just a really great fit and definitely the best opportunity that presented itself. So I'm really thankful that we were able to make the most out of it.
So we're also going to be as well as running the normal Cup Series, we're also going to be doing, these iRaces. I think there's about 10 of them. And I know you're all into that. You're all into the, with Twitch and all that, and, working with your partners. How important is it for a young driver like yourself to be able to market yourself and market your brand and all that?
It's very important. And that's something that I've put a lot of work into since I started racing, especially as I started progressing through the ranks. And I was fortunate to be a part of the NASCAR Next program, where I think we first met, Casey. So that was huge for me to learn more of the business side of things, especially from NASCAR's perspective and what they expect out of the drivers and what teams and sponsors look for. So I've always tried to do my best to stand out, maybe do some things that are a little bit unorthodox in a good way, right? More unique. Some of the things I do, like my YouTube channel, my Twitch channel, I don't do them because of that. I actually just really enjoy it and I like doing it. And it just so happens to work out where I'm building my brand and being a little bit more well-rounded on other platforms. So I think it's worked out, but I'm definitely going to continue to work hard on that. And especially for all our new partners this year that helped make all this come together.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much for your time. Good luck, bud.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Mark Garrow. Go ahead,
Mark. Thank you. Good morning. Anthony, the intensity level of the Cup Series is unlike any other racing in the world. Have you thought about that, or can you not prepare for that? You just have to experience it and deal with it.
Of course, I've thought about it. It's a huge step for myself in my career, and to be competing against childhood heroes of mine, guys who've been racing not only in their career but in the series since I was, before I was born or maybe 1 year old. I think guys like Newman have been in the series since I was 1 or 2. So there's a lot of veterans out there, and I know that they have a tremendous amount of experience in general in racing, let alone just this level. So I'm looking forward to learning from them. It's going to be a challenge to compete with them on a regular basis, but that's what has me probably most psyched about this year. And I'm actually, I've always been one that's willing to learn new things. And I think competing against guys that have that much experience is just going to make me that much better of a driver. And I'm going into the year knowing that there's going to be a learning curve. So the competition aspect is going to be obviously the most competitive I've ever experienced because it's the highest level of stock car racing and the premier series of our sport. But that's what's going to make this whole year really cool.
What kind of goals have you set in view of the fact that we have all these new teams? It looks like they're going to be well funded. They have manufacturer support. So the landscape has changed, right? It's not the same landscape everybody was looking at last August. It has changed in some ways very dramatically. So, I mean, in view of that, what do you think of the competitive level and the goals that you've set?
It's going to be exciting for the fans. Probably the most exciting for them, just because of the fact that there are these new teams you mentioned, and some you know, people from outside the industry coming in as team owners or in new roles, and drivers going to new teams and all this, and rookies like myself coming into the series. So it's going to be a really cool year to watch. And from a driver perspective, it's going to be really neat to be a part of. And I think the landscape's going to continue to change a lot this year with all the new tracks we're going to. And of course, with the new Cup car, the next gen car coming out in 2022. So that's probably going to be even more exciting for everyone in the industry, including the fans, because a lot just changed this year, but even more is going to change next year. And I think it's really cool what NASCAR has been doing to innovate and help grow the sport. And just, hopefully people like myself too can even bring some new fans to the sport, just being from a town where racing wasn't very popular, and to be racing at this level. Hopefully some childhood friends or kids I went to school with, stuff like that, maybe are now NASCAR fans.
Well, good luck. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Dustin Albino. Go ahead, Dustin.
Anthony, how much have you gotten to know Michael McDowell over the last month or so?
I've gotten to know Michael a lot recently. We've talked pretty much every day, at the very least texted, and he's been a really great teammate to lean on. Definitely one of the most outgoing drivers I've ever met, and probably one of the most outgoing people in the industry. So he's definitely lived up to what everyone else has told me about him, and I'm thankful to have him as a teammate, because I'm looking forward to leaning on him throughout the year and his racing experience as well as his road course experience, because he has a lot of experience there and he's very competitive. And I think that's going to help me a lot, since the road courses are arguably my weakest point going into the year, just because of my lack of road course experience in general. And it's been cool. We've been iRacing a little bit and just getting to know each other, working on the simulator together with Ford and our team here at Front Row Motorsports, and building chemistry before the season starts.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Lee Spencer. Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us, Anthony. You just were talking about McDowell, but on the other side of that, is David Ragan going to kind of serve as a driver coach for you as you acclimate to the Cup level?
I would say so. I met David the other day, and he was super friendly as well. Him and Michael both are going to be great teammates, and hopefully David could race his way into the 500 so that we have 3 front row race cars and competing in the race along with many other Ford Mustangs. So it's going to be really cool to hopefully have that group together and put ourselves in contention, or in a good spot to have a successful run in the Daytona 500, as well as other races as well throughout the year. And I think even when David's not in the car, he's going to be very valuable asset to Michael and I both, and this whole organization, so we can lean on him for just information from his experience and much more.
And there was a question earlier as to whether or not the 38 charter was going to stay in-house. Is that indeed the case?
Yes.
Super. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Of course.
Okay, we're going to take our next question here from Kelvin with RSN Trackside. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, Anthony. So you're in the Cup Series now. You're running your first Daytona 500, but there's a lot of exciting changes made to the schedule this year. Which one really excites you the most?
As far as all the new tracks go, to be completely honest, I'm really excited about the Bristol Dirt Race. And I know that sounds crazy because I've never raced on dirt, but that's what has me so excited about it. And I'm really pumped to be a part of that inaugural event, especially for the race fans, because what better place to have a wild and just super cool event like a dirt race than Bristol, where the energy is just electric. So I'm looking forward to being part of that. And I think one that stands out to me that, I hope to perform well at is, as I get better on these road courses and working with Michael, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course sticks out, just because I was fortunate enough to race there in the Xfinity Series last year. So hopefully my little bit of familiarity with the track allows us to have a little bit of an advantage going into that race as well.
And then with your lack of dirt experience, is there going to be any dirt racing to get familiarized with how the car might handle? Granted, a stock car is not going to handle as well as, say, a midget or a super late model would on the dirt track here at Bristol. Are you any type of dirt track racing coming up for you to try and get acclimated to what it'll feel like on dirt?
Not scheduled concrete as of now. Definitely going to try to. But at the very least, I've been wearing out my SimSeats driving simulator on iRacing just to get something going.
All right, thanks. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Good morning, Anthony. Have you been doing any Ford simulator time? And if so, what has been the biggest thing you've noticed about doing a cup car in the simulator?
I've actually been with Ford on the simulator weekly so far, and I'm going back this afternoon once I finish up with all our Daytona 500 media stuff. So that's been a huge help to be in the simulator regularly and learn these cup cars. As you mentioned, there is a big difference from everything else I've driven. I would say the little bit of laps I've got to make so far at some of the intermediate tracks is where I could really notice the difference in the cup car. Of course, it's a higher downforce package and, kind of a little bit less horsepower. So whereas an Xfinity car is much lower downforce, even on the intermediates. But on the road course, we're testing that low downforce package, getting ready for those races this season. And that's where you really tell the horsepower and downforce ratio, kind of stands out. And I'm sure the same will be the case for the road course, but definitely putting in a lot of laps and getting experience to be prepared.
And I know the season hasn't started yet, but have you had any kind of aha moments like, oh my gosh, I'm a cup driver kind of reality thoughts?
It hits me once in a while for sure. To be completely honest, I don't think it's set in fully yet, and it probably won't till I strap into my Speedy Cash Ford Mustang down in Daytona. But just a couple calls we've had with NASCAR, and there's driver group chat for reminders of stuff, and just to be in the same group chat as guys I grew up watching on TV is pretty neat.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Jacob Seelman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Thanks, Amanda. Anthony, thanks for taking the time this morning. Building off something that was asked earlier, there are probably those who would say or question, somebody who hasn't driven a full Xfinity season making a big leap to cup like what you're about to do. You mentioned that this was the best opportunity that you felt like for your career. I mean, what went into that thought process for you? What about this opportunity and making this leap felt right, even if it is a big jump?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing, Jacob, was the fact that it was obviously, I've heard Corey LaJoie even mention on the radio and when I was on with him, how you can't pass up the opportunity to race on Sunday. And that's definitely true. And that's not because of the excitement as a driver and then you just want to compete at the Cup Series level. It's really because of our partners looking for the most exposure possible for them. Of course, this great team at Front Row Motorsports looking for someone young like myself that hopefully can start to build a future in the sport and find a home for myself at this point in my career. But what really stuck out to me is just being able to run full time and to do it with the largest schedule in NASCAR, if you will, is huge for me to develop, grow, and just get overall experience. So I'm looking forward to learning and being able to compete every week. Running part-time, sometimes you have a good run and then you have to wait a couple weeks and you kind of lose that momentum. And if you have a bad run and you're off for a couple weeks, you can't go out the next week and try to rebound. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that a lot of times this year. Probably all the races combined in the Cup schedule is probably as many Xfinity and truck races put together I've run, which sounds a little wild to say, but like I said, it's a great opportunity and I have amazing people who believe in me. So I'm very thankful for that, and that boosts my confidence in itself. And this wasn't an easy decision that I made by myself by any means. It goes back to Team Dillon Management, Austin Craven, all of our partners, my family, previous team owners I've driven for, and many more.
To follow up on that, you mentioned finding a home, particularly at this level. Do you view being with Front Row Motorsports as a team that you guys can hopefully, build a program and make this a long-term home for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen the progression of the team throughout recent years. And of course, our alliance with Roush Fenway Racing and support from Ford Performance. I think there's a great future ahead, especially when the new Cup car comes out next year. I think the next gen car is everyone in the industry pretty optimistic, especially us here at Front Row Motorsports. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. We're going to take it one race at a time and focus on this year ahead.
Thanks, Anthony. Good luck next week.
Thank you, Jacob.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead, Ashley.
Anthony, looking at your career so far, if you could look back 5 years at everything that's happened, what would be one piece of advice you'd offer to yourself?
Best piece of advice is probably just take advantage of every opportunity you've had. I think I've done that as I've gone, but I would go back and do that all over again. And that's something I always tell young drivers, that there's a lot of younger drivers that, I try to help out, or people that reach out on social media and they might be racing late models or even legend cars. And I just tell them, I think one thing I've learned the last couple of years is running part-time has humbled me in a way that when races can become few and far between at times, you learn to make the most out of every single one. So that's what I always tell them, if you go out there and run every lap like it's your last, you gave it your best effort, and no matter where you finish, you could sleep well at night knowing you did all you could.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Marty with ROC Sports. Go ahead, Marty.
Thanks, Amanda. Anthony, kind of just a little bit of a follow-up on Bob's question. What's the noticeable difference you've seen between running a Cup car in iRacing and running it on the Ford simulator?
The biggest thing so far is just those simulators are a little bit more intricate and have some more features that make it just a little bit more realistic. But to be completely honest, my SimSeats driving simulator is pretty advanced. I have D-Box technology haptics on it, so it moves all the same ways. It's a full haptic simulator, and iRacing's just continued to evolve and become more and more accurate. So it's actually way closer than I'd ever expected. Obviously, I'd raced a Cup car before on iRacing, and that was one of the things I was most excited about in the Ford Sim, was to see how it compared, and it compares pretty well.
How has racing on the A-Class on iRacing, and I'm an iRacer myself, how has racing on the A-Class and the Pro Invitational, how's that really helped you in getting ready for your rookie season?
I think the Pro Invitational series itself was unique because we got to race against the same people we race against in real life. So it's kind of funny to see how some people approach that, or maybe they, race similarly to how they would in real life. So that was kind of cool to know who you were racing around. And it was super competitive. I put a lot of hours into each event and worked hard with some guys at Lockdown Racing, like Jimmy Mullis and Zach Novak, who race in the Coke series on iRacing, the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So that was a huge help for me to get better at iRacing. But of course, from the competitive standpoint, know some of the guys I was racing against in real life.
Thanks for your time, man. Have a great speed weeks, and you're making me hungry for some pasta right now.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Tucker White. Go ahead, Tucker.
Okay, Anthony, as we've seen over the last few seasons, and especially last season, the driver who performs the best over the course of a season doesn't necessarily make the championship round of the playoffs or even win the title. And given how luck heavy the playoffs have become with making the championship round or even winning the title, how are the playoffs a good method of deciding a champion, especially when leagues like IndyCar and Formula One decide their champion via a season-long format?
I think it makes it really exciting for the fans, especially, as well as the race teams. It's a whole different aspect, and definitely makes it, I wouldn't say necessarily more challenging. It's just a different challenge. They're two completely different formats, of course, and I think it's made it pretty neat to see guys, get eliminated from their shot at championship as the season goes on. And it's a season-long effort, because guys can try to win a race to lock themselves in, and if they win early, they can work on, just trying to get better for when the playoffs begin. But then once the playoffs start, it's like starting from scratch, and every round you're essentially starting from scratch, just trying to make it to the end. So I think it's a pretty neat aspect, and so far I think the fans have liked it, and it's definitely something cool. And with the stage racing even playing a factor, it's added a whole new aspect for the drivers too.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and we'll take our final question from, we got 2 questions left. We'll take our next question from Jeff Jacobs. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hi, Anthony. Jeff Jacobs from Hearst, Connecticut. I was wondering if you could indulge me in a few biographical questions. You said you didn't grow up in a crazy racing town, Ridgefield. Could you talk a little about growing up in Ridgefield, what that was like, and who did have an influence on you in racing?
Yeah, definitely. So growing up in Ridgefield was awesome. I'd love to do it all over again. I met some great people and good friends of mine that I still stay in touch with to this day, even though once I got into high school and started racing, I ended up doing school online and was traveling a lot. But great town, and it's where I grew up. My family's not from far there. All my family's in either Connecticut or New York. But as far as how I became a race fan in a town where it wasn't as popular, was just for my parents. They were going to races long before I was born. I just posted for my mom's birthday the other day a picture of her at the Richard Petty Experience before I was alive. So it's pretty neat. I think we've got a different perspective of the sport, and I have my own appreciation, so to speak, when I go to the racetrack, because I was a fan before I was a driver, and I think it's a pretty relatable story for a lot of people.
I obviously your nickname is pretty obvious from your name, but who gave it to you? Was there kind of a story behind how you got it or all?
Yeah, so the nickname Fast Pasta actually started at Hickory Motor Speedway my first year racing. I was racing limited late models at the time for Lee Falk Racing. And I think it was Trevor Townsend was the announcer at the time. And he had called me over the loudspeaker there, and it ended up just sticking all the way through my career. And here we are now from the regional level to the highest level in NASCAR, and Fast Pasta's grown more than I ever could have imagined.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. And we will take our final question from Anton with ASN Media. Go ahead, Anton.
Thanks, Amanda. Good morning, Anthony. This year you will drive the number 38 Front Row Motorsports Ford full-time. If someone told you that you would have such a turnaround in your career a year ago, would you believe it?
Probably not. I mean, I had no idea. I'm just so thankful. I feel very blessed, and definitely wasn't sure what exactly was going to happen, but I felt like I had a great year last year, and I was just hoping things would come full circle because of putting that effort forward, and all the people who've been by my side throughout my career. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Team Dillon Management and Austin Craven have worked really hard for me to help me find a home, and all that hard work's been paying off, and I feel like this is really just the beginning now of something much larger.
Thanks. Wishing you all the best for this season.
Thank you.
All right, Anthony. Well, congratulations on the upcoming season. We wish you the best of luck during Speed Weeks and the Daytona 500, and we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.